to share in either wisdom, story, or logic. And it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people, unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited to talk with someone who is a divine poet, metaphysical writer, mother, yogi, wayshower, and light worker. But if we were to truly seek to define the essential essence of Gemma, we'd soon come to know a very real, unassuming, open-minded, heart-centered, down-to-earth Aussie girl. How are you doing today, Gemma Star?
Hey, I'm really well. Thanks, Jesse. How are you?
Doing good, really busy. It's been a really kind of crazy week. Just trying to fit everything in, and glad we're able to fit another live. This is our 7th interview that we've done this week, and so it's been a very busy week, and we just keep trucking along because I think knowledge is power, and the more knowledge, the more knowledge we all have, the less power these certain people that want to try to control us have, and the better it is for the collective.
Sounds good. Well done.
So why don't you start off with telling us about yourself, telling us about your journey, what part of the world you're in, a little bit maybe about your education or your background, stuff about you that, people can get to know you better if they're hearing you here for the first time.
Well, I live in Australia, a little place called Noosa, which is an hour and a half north of Brisbane on the coast in the state of Queensland. Oh gosh, well, anything in my past just seems so like another lifetime ago. So it's, I just live in this space of now, where I am now, and just creating beautiful things now. I mean, pretty average past. I always felt I was a bit of a nobody until I saw myself as a somebody, I guess. Went through rough marriage, had 2 kids, and came out the other side in a healing journey, which has really been, somewhat the past 20 years. Started writing 6 years ago. And yeah, it's sort of all expanded since then.
So how did you go from being what you say is a nobody to being a somebody? What was that defining moment, or how did you, find that transformation, and that's quite a remarkable transformation.
Yeah, through my writing, in 2016, I sort of left I'd been in the truther movement and sort of full on to, digging deep into rabbit holes and really getting understanding of the external reality. But it wasn't really bringing me much peace. I sort of got into the trolling scene, and that's a pretty heavy, darker side of the internet. And didn't really feel comfortable there, and I just broke fully away, and I started meditating. And after 4 months of daily meditation, I accessed this space where divine writing, what I call divine writing, because no one was more amazed than me, this stuff that was coming through me. And, at first I thought, oh, just a one-off. Wow, that's pretty amazing. What else can I write about, and nothing. Well, but then I found it as a means to express myself, because as a child, I'd been very shut down. In my marriage, I've been very suppressed and shut down. And finally, I had a means to express myself through my writing. And so it was a gift to me, because even though I published it, that was part of the healing journey, allowing myself to be seen and not feeling the need to hide anymore. It wasn't a matter of needing the validation of anyone else liking or commenting. It was the gift to me was that I could put myself out there. And if it was received warmly, which it usually was, you know, that was a bonus, but that was never the intention. You know, when I wrote, I never wrote with the intention to publish anything. It was always written as a part of the healing process. And then, oh yeah, that's pretty good, I'll publish it, which was another thing I had to do to, I guess, be a someone, but not forcing my writing on anyone, but taking up public space. I guess that's how I could say it. Whereas before I'd always been sort of shut up, stay small, don't expand, don't shine your light, you know, just stay. And so I guess that was my means of taking up a little bit of space in the world.
So is there certain ways that you find inspiration to write, or does it just kind of come to you depending on what's happening in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I could maybe write 3 pieces in a day and then maybe write nothing for a week. It's just a way of, well, I either write to process or I write to say something to someone that maybe I feel hasn't been heard by another means, or I write to capture a moment in time. So those sort of 3 reasons, I think. And, you know, sometimes it's what I call full-on poetry, which is where, you know, it's sort of the more formal sort of rhyming and lengthwise. And I used to do a lot more of that in the beginning, but then I sort of got lazy in a way of just writing prose, because then I didn't have to tidy it up and get it all in the perfect rhythm and rhyme. And so, you know, then I went through a stage of doing a lot of prose. And now just starting maybe to get a bit more of the poetry back. I mean, there's a fine line. I don't know what the fine line is between poetry and prose. I'm sure some people would, but it's more, you know, that expression. And however it comes out is part of the creative process. It doesn't have to be boxed into poetry or prose or even, you know, something more formal. It's part of the creative process, however it flows out.
And it says that you're a yogi. So how did you get into yoga, and what's that journey been like?
Well, gosh, that would have been, well, maybe my writing is the number one healing tool, but yoga definitely. Well, I got into that after I say got away from my marriage, because that was a bit tough. And I had 2 young boys who were 1 and 3. So coming away from an abusive marriage with 2 young children, and I got into yoga for some reason. I think I just knew in the back of my mind it was something I wanted to do. And I found a place near me, and it happened to be a Bikram yoga studio. And that's the yoga that pretty much I always did. I did a bit of yin, but I mean, yoga, it heals on so many levels, you know. So obviously physically it's great for the body, you know, working every system, muscle, organ, flushing joints through the postures. But on an emotional level, wow, you know, we store so much pent up, unreleased emotion in our bodies that can be released through yoga. And, you know, often back then I'd have tears on the mat, you know, accessing a part of me, opening up a part of me that I'd kept closed. Not so much now, which is a good sign, I guess, but definitely part of it. The mental journey, especially with Bikram, you do it in front of a mirror. So you're eyeballing yourself practically the whole time that you're doing the standing postures. And at the beginning, that can be quite confronting, because you look at yourself and you know, always find something to maybe not accept about yourself. So that's part of the journey, which I find with the Bikram yoga super important too, you know, facing yourself every day in the mirror and doing the postures. And so thankful for that journey with the yoga, but definitely number one healing tool, apart from my writing, of course.
Now, some people are afraid of yoga. Some people say that it's, opens yourself up to dark entities or anything. Have you ever seen that, experienced that? Have you ever felt any dark trying to enter you because you're in certain yoga positions?
Never. It accessed my writing, and I know the writing comes from a divine place. Now, Jesse, I know you are open-minded. Why do you think they might say that yoga opens up dark places?
Well, for one, they want everybody afraid. That's the one of the big goals, but also they don't want people connected. And when you can get yourself into a meditative state or into a place like a yoga, a nice relaxed state, you're more connected to source, you're more connected to our creator, and they want you to not be connected. They want you to be afraid. They want you to be thinking, dividing from anybody who's using certain things to better themselves, and that there goes the division again.
It brings us into a state of presence. Yoga, from my awareness, means yoke. Union. It's the balance between, or the harmony between, strength and flexibility, between masculine, feminine, between mind and heart, between yin and yang. It's that whole balance which is brought in with the yoga postures. And then you've got your presence, because especially with the Bikram, you're in a heated room. So you've also got the detoxing. I mean, the studio I go to has also got infrared lighting. So that's another source of detox. It's just so powerful. And that is why they try and suppress it. Same as meditation. I mean, meditation is, when I meditate, there's lots of different ways to meditate, but, that is when my writing came through. And, it wasn't what I consider like working up to a certain quality. It came boom at a certain quality. And I hadn't written since I was at school. And even then, I mean, if I had to write poetry in an English class, it would have been very mediocre. I mean, I was a pretty solid B student. And then, so as I said, no one was more surprised than me. Like, where has this come from? It's like, it was crazy. So I knew it had come from another place. And it was through meditation and yoga that I accessed that place, which is definitely not dark. It's such a sacred place. It's at one with the divine. It's a frequency, and you just know when you're in it. Like, and I can drop myself into that place to write, and that's where I would like to think I do most of my writing from.
Is there certain places, like in your house or on a beach, or like, just anywhere, do you get yourself into a certain kind of routine for writing, or does just the inspiration fly and you're in behind your car and all of a sudden you got some information that you just want to put down on paper, or put it into your phone?
Oh, look, any of all of those. I mean, in the beginning, as I said, I did pretty much 2 years of solid meditation. I mean, within, daily practice. And so it used to pretty much come through that. And in the end, I scared myself a bit because, I don't know, I guess I didn't feel worthy of the stuff that was coming through me. And I sort of just backed off a bit. But then I could do it without the meditation. But it's either I'm in a state of emotional chaos, which doesn't happen much now, but back then, maybe in relationships or something happening in my life, and I could drop into that space and just start writing. And again, it was never written to be published, right? It's written as a healing tool, because then I could alchemize the pain and work through the processing and come out with a beautiful piece of writing at the end of it, which was my alchemy of pain into love. And then other than that, I could be in the yoga room, I could be doing anything, and something would start to come through. And you just know from the first line, okay, something's coming through. And I learned early on, thinking, oh, I'll remember that. And you don't. So I learned early on now to drop everything and just, either pick up. I can do both. I prefer paper and pen, but sometimes I've only got my phone and just let it flow. At least get the bulk of the divine content down, and then you can sort of tidy it up a little bit. But often I'll work on tidying it up, but it's never the same as that first divine frequency that comes through. And with me, it comes through often very simply. And it's not one of these where, because I don't speak with a lot of fancy words, and I feel that connection with the divine is this very simple. I don't think divinity uses a lot of fanciful words to speak to me either. It's that pure simplicity. And that's what I'll often capture. And then I'll think, oh, yeah, I need to put in a fancy word here and there. But then I'll read it. And I say, no, that really simple one expressed my connection better. So, yeah, just keeping it very authentic. And I guess having the confidence to do that, not feeling that you've got to produce something that is out for judgment for anyone else. The words you use, it's you knowing that you have put your pure channel to the divine and through your authentic self into that piece of writing. So it's really for no one else to critique except yourself. And when you know you're tapped into that divine place, which I can feel like, if someone said to me, oh, can you write, I don't know, a few paragraphs for, I don't know, on the newspaper report or something, it's not coming from the same place. And I struggle with that. If I've got to think about what I've got to write, it doesn't feel right for me. Like when I'm writing, it's either got to flow or it's not there to be written.
And I think you said it right with the simplicity, and the secrets to the universe are very simple, but it seems because the way we've been programmed, we want to complicate everything. And if we just simplify things, I think we can find that true essence, that true divinity comes from simplicity.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because as I said, it's like I talk quite simply. I say things. I don't mind talking, but I can easily not talk. So sometimes if I have to say something, I'll just get from A to B and express what I want to say in the shortest way possible. So simple, to the point, fact. I won't go on and on and on. Extending it. I would say what I feel needs to be said in the shortest amount of words.
Diane says here, this is mind-blowing to me. I was just thinking about this earlier today. I started doing this about 15 years ago. I call it automatic writing. Does that sound familiar?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a different label for the same thing. I've never liked that word automatic. It's never resonated with what I do. And I'm sure it's fine. I'm not criticizing that, but I've never thought of what I do as automatic. It was more as a expression of divine connection. I always think it flows through me. I can feel it coming through the heart space, through this area. I can feel the frequency there, and that's when I actually drop from my head to that heart space, and I know the words come out of that area. So yeah, but everyone, I guess, is different. It's such a unique thing. We don't all have to be the same in how we choose to label it, how we express it. It's again, it's being comfortable with our unique gift, so comfortable that we don't need someone else even to label it or box it, because it's so unique and so special and such a gift. It's almost intrusive for anyone else to enter that space and put their labels on it. It's so precious. Yeah.
I love writing. I do lots of writing, and some days I'm more inspired than others. But I find when I consume some cannabis, I find all of a sudden my inspiration is off the charts, and I'm constantly wanting to write something. And that's one of my kind of energizers. It's kind of gives me, I know different people it does different things to, but for me it gives me a lot of energy and it gives me a lot of inspiration.
Well, yeah, that's I tried it twice in my life and just got sick. I think the first time I was about 17. I fell asleep in a paddock, and the second time was only a few years ago. A boyfriend I had at the time, he used to smoke it, and also my youngest son used to smoke it. So when he came round one day, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try it again." But I felt so sick that. But that's me, and I don't drink either. I used to. I used to be a party animal. I lived in the Italian Alps for a decade, so I was a real party animal. But that sort of just shifted over the years. So it's been a few years now. So it just faded out. Go out for lunch with a girlfriend, maybe have a glass because it was, we're out for lunch. And even now, I can't even do that. So for me personally, I access the divine source more through this sense of purity and clean. There's nothing there. There's no plant medicine. There's no alcohol. There's definitely no drugs. Sometimes there's chocolate, but that's I've just got a pure, straight source without anything elevating it or expanding it or censoring it or opening it. Just pure connection. That's me.
Do you have any goals for your writing? Like, are you going to maybe put a book together? Are you looking to, like, is there any thoughts on, what the writing that you've been gifted with will bring into your life?
Well, after 2 years, I did put a book out of the first couple of years of poetry. And that was more just again, because I'd been such a nobody. It was sort of like, it was more a gift to myself. I never really promoted it or published it. And then, but it was just, I guess, something that I had to do more for myself. And so I did. And, now I've got, probably close to 1,500 pieces of writing, prose or poems on my Facebook page that are all divided into albums, so I can access them. But I don't feel the need to put out another book. If someone else wanted to do it for me, I'm sure it's worthy. I'm not saying it's not worthy. There's a lot of good stuff in there. But it's not something I feel the need to do. And I never put out a book to make money from it. It was always just one of those things I did for my own personal growth, to step out of my shell of being a nobody to, wow, I had a gift that was worthy of putting in a book. It's like, it's just personal stuff. And unless you've been in that shut down place, I don't think anyone would be able to understand, the gift to self.
Do you have maybe any poems or anything that or something that you could maybe share with us?
Oh, I got heaps. Actually, well, I don't know why I thought you might ask that. So I did have got my book here. I got loads of poems. Pick a page. So I did. That's my book. That's light language on the front. So
And
it's
then
all
I
about.
met you.
Sorry, no, I didn't do it. I just
No,
wrote.
it says, and then I met you.
Oh yeah, and then I met you, and that's Karen Star. That I changed my name legally last year, so it's another thing, letting go of labels and everything. But if that's why there's the different name, but I'm legally now Gemma, and that's another story. Oh gosh, so many, and it sort of goes through. I thought, how am I going to do this chapter? I'm going to remember this. I've been writing now 6 years. So I started writing in November 2016 when Trump got elected, incidentally. And now 6 years later. So, and so I did it into chapters. I did 11 chapters. So which I found were the sort of stages of relationships. And anyone that was reading the book who was going through a particular stage could just access that. So I've got yearning, loving, feeling, when we start feeling and triggers, then breathing, or breaking, breathing, healing, rising, divine feminine, divine masculine, sacred union. And then I met you. And then I met you could be, you meet your divine lover, it's counterpart, but it's also about meeting yourself. So
meeting your inner child, meeting yourself for the first time, finding you when you may have been lost.
Yeah, just meeting yourself, your divine, all the parts, your child, your masculine, your feminine, your lover, everything, it's and so that's what the title is. I mean, it's both aspects, because then of course what is inside is reflected in the external world, so as we heal our inside, then our outer world reflects that healing, and we're in a much better place. So yeah, I could read any, pick a page.
88.
88. I have to put my glasses on. All right, 88. What have we got? New moon. All right. We all behold the divine power, the magic to change our world. Whatever we give our energy to stays. Things we stop thinking about slowly begin to fade away. This is how we shift vibrationally, aligning with different realities, seeing the world through our real eyes, each unfolding moment at a time, creating truth where our thinking lies. Feelings give magnitude to thoughts. Spoken words amplify and reinforce. The magic is already within us, potent energy in our minds, the power of love within our hearts. Now, I haven't read that for a couple of years, but let's read a more loving one. Let me see. So I'm unprepared. So what about, Sweet Mercy is a pretty cool one. Oh, you can try to define, no, sorry, let me start again. Oh, you can try to control this divine love we have found, dipping your toes in the water, afraid to dive in and drown. But flames cannot be bound or locked up in chains, nor kept at arm's length to avoid feeling the pain. So how hungry is your thirst for this rapture of the heart? On a slippery slope to heaven, your world about to fall apart. Can you abandon all control, gift your heart upon a stake, risk losing everything for love, do whatever the hell it takes? Whispers echoing in the silence, pleading to satisfy the yearn, igniting fire within your soul till you surrender to the burn. Your heart is aching to run wild. Power can never be contained. Hear it begging for sweet mercy to feel my love without restraint.
That's great.
So yeah, there's heaps, and that's only the first 2 years. They're all on my Facebook page, but again, I'm not interested. It was a lot of trouble, not a lot of work to make a book, even though I got that hybrid publishing. Yeah, someone else does it, and but yeah, was it worth it? It was worth it to do one.
So here it also says you're a way shower and a light worker. Could you maybe tell us about that?
Well, it was only because you asked me to write a bio, Jessie. I'm not, I don't really give a shit. So I only had to write something because you asked me. So what do I write? I mean, I'm not a big one for labels. And that's why I said any 3D labels might call me this and this. What am I? A way shower, I guess. That's what you call someone who is doing the work in creating heaven on earth. That's how I see it. A light worker, well, we're all light workers to whatever degree, like how much light are we putting out in the world? How much are we, what do you call it? Transmuting the darkness through our own tool of the human body. So, that's what that's all about. And I mean, look, through my healing journey, I guess I got a pretty broad understanding of what a lot of topics, from divine masculine and feminine, sacred lovers, emotional healing, quantum humanity. I never studied this stuff, but I just know, you know, the quantum realm, how it works, manifestation, you know, the healing journey, just all the truth of stuff. You know, I delved back into that now the past couple of years, bringing with it, you know, the heart awareness that where I'd left off in 2016. So, you know, I guess I sort of got only through my own experience. This is all I can ever talk about, my own experience. I never pretend to be able to speak of someone else's experience or anything that I haven't personally, that can personally come from me. You know, like someone said to me once, they messaged me, they go, you know, can you please write something on grief? I said, well, no, I'm sorry, I can't, because it's not something I've experienced, you know. So if I was to write something on grief, it would be third hand, what I imagine it would feel like, or from someone else's experience. So no, sorry, I can't do that. Everything I've written is always a reflection of self, what I'm experiencing. So, and that's the gift of it. You know, I mean, there's times a few years ago things might be a bit more rocky. You know, I was maybe expressing anger or something, not often, but, you know, I mean, in being in my authentic self, there was the odd post, even though I could alchemize it and by the end of it, you know, always bring it back to self. But I never pretended ever to be anyone who I wasn't, going through this emotional healing journey, you know. So it's all out there, that even though, you know, I've always had I would say a relatively clean mind, as in I was always a nice person, you know, so I never had to deal with trying to hide a shitty mind or a shitty heart. So I think that reflects in my writing, but not to say that the odd time I didn't get angry. Definitely sadness, frustration, you know, and a lot of this again with relationships and also, you know, I'd been brought up with a very controlling mother. And so it was at that understanding that I was also in my masculine, in my trying to control to what extent. And now, especially the past couple of years, been very aware to come back, or not come back, but find my feminine and bring her out. And that can only happen when you've got a healed masculine. Because if you don't have a healed masculine, you're always going to be in your masculine to protect your feminine. So it's a journey of interaction, of working both of them, healing your masculine, but also then bringing forth your feminine for us women.
Finding that balance is key, because, you know, you don't want to be too dominant on one or the other side, because, you know, then that causes a little bit of inner turmoil or mind chaos.
Yeah, it's, you know, where do we find our peace, like, you know, in our mind and our love in our heart? I mean, ultimately, our home is our body, our mind and our heart, and well, physical body as well. If you've got aches and pains, you know, it's like this is our house, our temple. So you've got to find that peace of mind. You've got to find that love in your heart because whatever is happening on the outside, if you don't have that, if you don't have the comfort of a healthy body, those three things, you know, you're never, ever, ever going to find what you're looking for on the outside. So they're the three things: a peaceful mind, a loving heart, and a comfortable body to reside in, you know. They're the areas of work, and then that manifests in your outside world. And that's how you create your heaven on earth, which is an individual space to start with, and then extends out and out. So you create your own heaven on earth. And when you've got that space, then you can extend that into your family and your relationships, and, you know, further out into, you know, your community and further out until, you know, your world, because it's the extension of self is the world that we live in. So to be able to find your heaven and extend that out, that is how I see creating heaven on earth.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about is, we want to bring heaven on earth. And I've always thought of this place as heaven because I've never imagined another place more beautiful than it is here. It's unfortunate some of the stuff that happens that makes it not be like heaven to a lot of people because of whatever greed and war and all kinds of weird stuff that happens here. But how do we bring heaven on earth, to truly be in that, mind, head, heart, body space?
It's working on self. We're programmed to look external for everything. Oh, if I get that bigger house, if I get that promotion, if I go on holidays to the Bahamas, if I, always chasing something on the outside to feel better about ourselves, maybe that'll make us feel better. Um, and what is hidden from us through, external sources, through religion, through the distortion of religion, education, Hollywood, entertainment, the media, none of them say, hey, look inside yourself, and that's where you're going to find it. And that then will create it in your external world. They always keep us in the future looking for it, or even in the past. You're never going to find it in the past either. And it's only been through this journey of coming back to self and healing self. What makes your mind more peaceful? Is it learning to let go of expectations? That's a big one. Is it learning to let go of attachments? Another huge one, especially around relationships. We're sold this idea, this sort of fairy tale idea of relationships. And, I was definitely sold it because I had two parents who were together pretty much 24/7, which is not, and at the time I thought that was, your dream relationship. But it took me a long while to unravel that and figure out, hey, no, that is super codependent. So, letting go of attachments, healing the past so you're not living in guilt and shame, even getting to a point where you can have gratitude for your story, because that's made you into the person you are today. Like, I mentioned before about, I was 10 years in an abusive marriage, mental, physical, emotional, total shithouse. But my greatest teacher, my goodness, because that's all I thought I deserved at the time, and I thought, oh, I had this magic, the love of a good woman. I knew I was a good person. It wasn't like, you sort of have this distorted view when you're in it that is some sort of, if only, the love of a good woman, he'll get there eventually. He'll get there if I keep, he'll see one day. It takes a lot of self-understanding and self-honor to get yourself out of that, but I did it. And the thing I'm most proud of is that I brought up my boys alone. And so much, and it made me into who I am today. I say he's my greatest teacher. I mean, we're not really in touch with each other, but if we were to reach out at Christmas or, New Year, whatever, it's sort of, oh, hello, Happy New Year, and that's it. It's not like there's any resentment or any hard feelings, but it's a neutral space. Like, we don't have to be connected either, but there's actually no attachment anymore to that story. And gratitude, because wow, that's what I had to go through to see myself as someone of worth. I was waiting for him to see it. I was waiting for my parents to see it. I was waiting for everyone else to see that I had some worth that I knew I had inside. But for some reason, I didn't think I was worthy of it. I don't know. It's, a tough one. I don't even sort of go into the analytics of it. I'm not feeling it, and especially as it's something of my past, it's sort of hard to go there and analyze it. But, oh gosh, would I change anything? No. Would I want to do it again? No.
Do you think that, if people are going through some inner turmoil because maybe stuff that's happened to them in their past, if they actually looked at it and, as being grateful that maybe some of this horrific things happen, they could maybe start to heal from it and not be stuck in that emotion that gives them that turmoil that keeps spinning on inside?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you're looking into the meaning of life, it's like, do things just happen randomly, or is there a purpose behind it? I mean, and to look to where we are today, for example, on this call, like, what were the building blocks that got us here? I mean, I speak for myself, and I have been, but it's like nothing that I would have ever have imagined. And so if you've got a higher purpose, what's it going to take to get you there? You're not just going to wake up one day and be, oh, I'm in my mission. Like, what experience has it taken that we are now here talking of our experience? And maybe someone's getting an answer that they were looking for, maybe not, I don't know. But it's a teaching tool now, especially when you can do it without being attached to it. Like, there's no resentment or even guilt or shame for the person who I was, and it's only when we can get to that place of total transparency, I think, that we are ready to be a voice. Because while you're still trying to hide a part of you that you haven't transmuted and found a meaning for life or having experienced that, you're still very much in your healing journey. Like, there was one interview I did last week, and they said, is there anywhere we can't go? I'm like, no, there's nowhere where you can't go, because this is me. Transparency, authenticity is freedom. Now, again, we're all looking for freedom on the outside, but to be who I am today in total transparency, that I can speak my truth, that you can ask me anything and I will answer it, and there's nothing I need to hide of myself, that's true freedom. And that's the point. So healing anything that you're ashamed of, and there's no reason to be ashamed, because it's always a step to get us to a higher place. Every moment is an opportunity to choose love. So, and often we're so focused on choosing love for other people, we forget about ourselves. And this is all part of, the healing journey. It's a lifetime, and some of us maybe work through things faster than others, but it's a gift, such a gift. This is the gift that we were given so we could really step into our strength. It's like, for example, what's going on in the outside world, right, at the moment? If a savior came and just, oh, boom, here's 5D, here's, a new political system, if it was Trump or whoever it was, like the people would still be disempowered, wouldn't they? They want the easy system. Oh, yeah, Trump will save the day, or Jesus, or whoever you want to come in as your savior, right? But the people will still be in that disempowered position. So the next time a force wanted to overtake them, they would still allow it, because they haven't found their internal power. And it's the same with this, like, we're given these situations in life so we can find our internal power. Because once we've found that, that's true sovereignty. Like, no one can take it from you. Could put me in a prison cell, I'd still be me inside, I mean, I might kick and scream for a few minutes, but I would come back to my peace, because that's the only place where like, nothing is worth losing that peace. And so once you find it through true authenticity, no one can take it from us, ever. And that's true empowerment and true freedom and true love. Yeah, and you only get it through the human journey.
Do you think everyone has a divine purpose, whether they see it or not, whether they believe it or not, that, there is some purpose for, everyone to be here at this time?
Well, it depends how you define purpose. I mean, some of us might have a purpose that's more, I guess, in the public eye. Everyone has a purpose, and that purpose is to find their sovereignty, to find their freedom, to find their love. that is everyone's purpose. Some of us are more in the public eye. Some of us are, not. And that's everyone's, exactly where they're meant to be. But yeah, that is everyone's divine purpose, I feel, to find that freedom and love. Yeah. And unity, for sure. Yeah.
What do you think is stopping people from, finding that true sovereignty that, is supposed to meant to be here for everyone?
Well, I was going to say fear, which to some extent, but probably ignorance, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's just not knowing how powerful we are, because especially anyone who's been indoctrinated by religion or higher education, all those things, the people that watch a lot of the entertainment industry, the news, the Hollywood, there's so much indoctrination there. It takes a long time. People just, and then, oh yeah, we're powerful. But until you can access that place as an individual, like words can't even describe it. You've got to go there yourself. And so it's this people that haven't actually stopped in that place of silence and stillness, because everyone's so busy, whether they're trying to work all the overtime so they can buy a new car or buy a bigger house, or they can't sit still in the moment and they're always on their phone or on the TV or even just listening, to music. It's not having access that space to know, their true power. So I think does that answer the question?
Yeah. Now, what about, kind of the system, the money system, the banking system, the government system? How does that, come into conflict with people trying to find their sovereignty when it seems like they're being squeezed and pushed and programmed, and, traumas and, just things keep happening on this roller coaster of life?
Yeah, again, that comes with the whole healing journey. I mean, for me personally, it's not something that that I worked on separately, because I've never been materialistic. I mean, even from a younger age, I was never one of these, I need to find a rich man. I was always, I'll find a broke poor man, and I did. plenty of them, because I wanted the love. I didn't want the money, so, but that was all another part of it. I don't know. So somewhere from even when I came in, there was some, not retaliation to money, but just knowing that that wasn't what I was looking for. Now, when I was bringing up my boys, I was like, as a single mum, without any external help, I pretty much lived paycheck to paycheck. But I never begrudged that. I was always, when I paid my rent, I was always grateful for it, never begrudging it. I was grateful that I had the money to pay for it. I was grateful that I had chicken legs and baked beans to feed my boys. I was always grateful, never, ever begrudging it, and the other thing, I learned to manifest incredibly well. Like, looking back on it, it's quite amazing. So I was like living like this, but I could create European trips for me and my boys. We did 3 big ones, and because I had contacts in the ski resort where I'd lived for 10 years, I could, over a year, like I'd start in the January, I'd say, okay, I'd write in my diary, end of November, that's when we're flying out, right? Because at the school system here, we end our summer holidays in December. The flights always get more expensive in December, so I'd work it out for the end of November, and I'd write that in, and then I would just spend every evening on the computer, like researching, creating itineraries. I'd even put in little weather icons with the sun, and we'd always have stopovers like Paris and and the money always came in. I'd just pay a hotel off here, hotel there. Then, sort of around the middle of the year when we get our tax and stuff back and a few bonuses and that, I'd use that to pay for the flights. And I just could create these amazing European holidays for me and the boys. We did a lot of traveling, 3 times. So we went to the Great Wall of China. We had a month trekking in Vietnam. We went on cruise. So I really learned to manifest. And when you can manifest, you don't need to hoard money. You don't need to save money. You don't need to be worried about money in the future, because you can access it, and you just get into that. I guess it's a frequency of abundance, just knowing that it's there. You never have to worry about it. And I mean, even now, it's I'm in a very comfortable place. I have money, but I don't need it. As in, I've got more than enough for my daily, life and expenses. I'm also, I also help people I feel called to help. It's total mind change of. I think you've got to work to get to that place where you said. I think that comes when you can learn to manifest, and learning to manifest will get you to that state of abundance, because then when you have that skill, you don't have to worry, as I said, about having money saved up. And again, abundance doesn't always come with money. I got a great story. I love this story because it's just so beautiful, because when you're learning to manifest something, you don't focus on how you're going to get from A to B, because you trust that divinity, God, whatever you want to call it, knows the best way for you to get from A to B. So I was, so the window in my car, I don't know what you call it, but it wouldn't wind up and down. The glass bit, fell down. And I went, and this was a few years ago now, I went to the mechanic and they said, oh, that cost you $400 to fix. And at the time I was like, whoa, okay, it's summer, we can just wait for that one. And I thought, because I love manifesting like really specific things, testing it. I'm like, right, I'm going to manifest, a window. And it's not like wasn't manifesting the $400, because that would have probably been the easy way, but not focusing on how you're going to get it. We're so restricted with our mind, thinking the only way I can get that window fixed is to manifest $400, but it's not, and you'll know. And so it's that point of that line between action and surrender. It's like, yeah, I'd like that to happen, but I'm not totally attached to the outcome. But anyway, as it was, I didn't even really need to work hard on it, because you get to a point, as I said, where you're just in complete flow. So maybe a week later, I was driving through our local town, which is double lanes, and I must have been in their blind spot. They changed lane and they swiped the whole side of my car. And, we were only going slowly, so it wasn't a big deal. And so their insurance paid and took it to the wreckers. And, of course, it was the side that, the window had come down on. So I got a whole new side of the car for free, including the window. See? Now, there's no way you would have ever created a story in your head that, to get a new window, right, I'm going to get someone to sideswipe my car and get their insurance to pay. Well, someone might, but I wouldn't. But that's how it happened. And that's how you manifest. It doesn't always have to come through money, It's amazing. It's just an amazing space to tap into. But yeah, I think, I know I had to get there through learning how to manifest. So yeah, that's what I would say, how you get to abundance.
I had this car and I really wanted it to, it seemed like it was maybe kind of breaking down, and I'm like, please just someone hit me. Please just someone hit me. And I'm like literally wanting someone to hit me. And 3 times someone almost hit me, but because of my reflexes, because of the way every single time, and I'm wanting someone to hit me, but I avoided all 3 accidents where I didn't get hit. And then I'm like, no, I'm like, why but at the time, you don't, think of things like that. At the time someone's coming to hit you, you want to protect yourself, you want to protect, and you want to do the best thing possible. So 3 times I didn't get hit by any car, and I've avoided lots of accident. It's just I have really good reflexes and I just feel things, right? And as I feel something's going to happen, I just respond and react very well, even though I didn't want to react that way. It still was just that's that natural instinct and flow.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, you can just start with little things like, but see, this is the thing with manifestation. People are so programmed to think they want a flash car. Now, why do you want a flash car? Is it so that you can look good to other people? Because in that divine flow, that's why you want a flash car, you're not going to get it. Like I manifested a new car too, but like very average one. I was just grateful to have a car that was reliable. I didn't need a flash car, but a reliable car and I've still got that car now 10 years later. And it's been so reliable, but I manifested that new as well. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you want a car to get from A to B. Yeah, you want comfort, you want reliability, but do you really need the fancy label or the external glitter? You're like, why do you want that? It's really coming into, because I think when you manifest, you can only get things if you're in with the divine intention, because that's the frequency that will align. So, it's when you've got that intention that, you want something because it's for love and for freedom instead of for external validation, you're going to get it a lot quicker. And see, this is the thing, so you're manifesting a car. Like, why do you want that car? You want it, what's another one? I mean, most people manifest, they think they want a fancy car, but really they want security or they want freedom. So it's tapping into keep rolling back. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? Why do you want it? And come to that sense of feeling freedom, of feeling, I guess, security, coming down to the basic emotion of why you really want what you're trying to manifest.
And so for someone who, doesn't utilize those skills, any tips where you could, someone to help them along their journey to be able to, maybe manifest more things in their life?
Gratitude. If we're grateful for everything, even what we consider maybe less fortunate things, the state of gratitude, the frequency of gratitude, living in that today will create more to be grateful for tomorrow. So, in the law of creation, law of attraction, it's what we're feeling, the frequency we're in today that we're going to manifest and live in, in tomorrow and onwards. So it's like, as I said, okay, so I opened the fridge years ago, maybe, with the boys, only chicken legs, baked beans, but thank God I had something. Not even to God, just, thank goodness I had something I could feed them. Every time I start the car, thank you that the car starts. Like, we've always, however bad we are, there's always someone worse than us. Like, we've got 2 legs. There's plenty of people that have only got 1 leg.
Or none.
Well, there you go. If you got 1 leg, you could have none. There's always something to be grateful for. And this is, it's tuning into that, learning, training yourself to always be grateful. Every time you turn your car on, thank you. I used to give it a little pat and say thank you. And it's like, whatever, it wasn't an old car, but always appreciative that, because it could be worse. It could not start. Finding gratitude in everything, because that is what creates more to be grateful for tomorrow. And when you can live, and that's one of the highest frequencies. Grateful, as we were talking about before, for the pain in your life, because when you've transmuted it, that's what's bringing you your freedom and your and the love to and your sovereignty. So gratitude for everything, and knowing that there's a divine plan. Like, the way I see it is, nothing can happen between two people unless there's some soul agreement. And it might not have happened, whether it happens pre-incarnation or it just happens in the dream state, like even between us, it's like on some higher level we made a connection that we would have this conversation. It's already pre-planned. So when you can understand that everything, whether it's we perceive it through our thoughts, judgments, wounds, that something is either good or bad, it's been predestined for another opportunity for us to choose love, another opportunity. And we'll keep getting opportunities to choose love, to choose freedom, to choose self-honor until we've mastered that skill. But to know that in the greater meaning of life, nothing is random. So anything that's coming into our lives is there for a purpose, is there predestined, for even, you can look at it predestined on a more spiritual level, or you can understand the quantum mechanics, that the frequency we're holding today in the quantum field is creating something in that same frequency to be reflected to us. So you can see it either way, and it's one of the same anyway. It's just how you choose to perceive the reality of what's happening externally. Is it like, especially people have been indoctrinated with religion, they might see it one way, and then you've got your quantum scientists that would see it as pure science, and you've got me that can sort of see it as the same thing, just in different just feeling into how you perceive your external world, as in that realm of energy and frequency and vibration, and the fact that nothing is random. Everything connects with like frequency. You're, with every emotion and thought and intention's a big one. You're putting out little threads, tapestries into the universe, and they connect with like tapestries. And that's what we're bringing into our life all the time. If we're sitting here in an angry state today, tomorrow our external world is going to reflect something for us to be angry about, and we're going to say, oh, this world sucks because there's everything's making me angry, without realizing it. It's because we held that frequency today. So tomorrow or whenever, our external world is going to say, hey, yeah, you were right, here's something to be angry about. But we'll always see it as something external to ourselves, until we understand that, hey, I created that. And so then we can take charge. It's not worth losing our peace. It's not worth being in certain states of chaos. Let it go. Create your sacred space and live in that. You've got to fine tune that, like not let people in who steal your peace. It's even tidying up your Facebook feed. You don't have to unfriend people, but you can unfollow them and not see them in your feed anymore. You can cultivate your feed, that it's a beautiful place to flick through whenever you want to go through it. People who you don't, maybe you feel a bit jarred when you see their posts, you can just unfriend them and not have that. We've got to realize that we are the ones that cultivate our space, and not to let those arrows and penetration into our field that we don't want to allow. We've got to take charge of that. We're not helpless victims that, oh, we're getting all this stuff. No way. No. And it's really taking charge of that and knowing that, and that's our power. And that's where we create our space. That's where we create our heaven and our sovereignty. It's choosing what we're going to allow into our space and what we're not.
So is that, important, to surround yourself with the people that you want to resonate with, to, view things in your social media that you want to resonate with? Because 25 years ago, I was working for this oil company, and My boss made me work with this lady. She was an older lady at the time. I think I was 22 or 23 years old, and she complained about everything. Everything. It was too cold out. It was too hot out. There was too much mayonnaise on my sandwich. The bus was too full. Everything, and every single day, that's all I heard was one complaint. Oh, when are we going to get out of here? This is too much work. And me at the time, and like I'm always been like a happy, positive person, always, smiling, always, optimistic, and for me, it was hard being around somebody that I was told to work with, that was so negative. And after a few weeks of working with her, I found myself starting to complain about things and starting to act like that. And I went to my boss and I said, I need to resign. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, and I was young and I was new. I didn't know about, much about companies and things. And I said, well, I just can't work with this lady. Everything she says is complaining, and I'm starting to find myself complaining. And he's like, yo, you don't need to resign. We'll just move you somewhere else. And he actually, because I wasn't afraid, I took that step, then I wouldn't have to be around that person. So it's important, the people that you are around that do, respond, to your frequency and vibration, and you end up adopting those habits.
Oh, definitely. It's massive. And this is the thing where, even within the truther community, there's a lot of, you only need to step into that space for so long before you actually need to elevate. I mean, I think that it's great to have an awareness, but you don't need to dig into the depths of every single rabbit hole. You have an awareness of what's going on, but not just surround yourself with people who you feel on the same frequency as. Elevate, the one. And we shift in, people I was maybe tuning into and watching a year or 2 years ago, I don't even want to watch them anymore. I'm just like totally changed that frequency. And that was more in the truther movement but as I said, I'm very grateful because I was learning a lot about what was going on in the behind the scenes of government and banking and whatever is going on. But I feel I've got a good awareness, and I've got enough awareness around that now I want to focus more on the higher frequencies. And though, you start being drawn to watching other people and more higher consciousness people, and, really expanding your awareness. And as you said, surrounding yourself with people who are going to take you to the next level. So not just people that you resonate with. If you feel that you're the most awake or elevated person in your little group, change your group. Change to watching someone who's going to take you higher, who's going to expand you further. It's amazing where we can go. And if we don't keep ourselves shut in a little box, have a look around and just see there's so many teachers out there now who are taking us to the next level, and it's just what you resonate with. It's easy to stay in a box in a group of people, but for me, self-growth and expansion is my number one motivating force. And I'm an only child. I've always done a lot alone, so that doesn't bother me at all. And it's I guess it makes it easy for me. I'm very happy in my own company, and I spend a lot of time alone. So that doesn't bother me at all. Shifting in and out from people. But yeah, it's taking that power back. Who is in charge of your growth? You are. Who is in charge of the comfort of your emotional space? You are. We are. Taking that responsibility, that charge, and like what opens our heart is the direction to go in. What closes our heart, what feels heavy, is like, no, walk away from that. It's learning, I guess, self boundaries. Like people who have got sort of very interwoven families, that's a tough one too. Learning when to say no. Again, I've been blessed without that. for better or for worse, you know. So, but yeah, all a creation of self. You know, you can't wait for other people to be in a space that makes you feel better. You've got to take control of that. It doesn't have to be a person, a permanent break from someone. Even, you know, you can just say, look, I just need some space to work on my own things. You know, it's not like I'm never going to see you again, but you'll get the feeling of what feels good, who feels good in your space, who expands you, who closes you, what expands you, what closes you. And it's that being. Okay, so now again, we're going to talk about not being numbed by cannabis or alcohol or stuffing food in, being a pure enough channel to be able to feel when someone comes in your space that feels heavy, or someone comes in your space that elevates you. And again, that's where I think that any external substance doesn't serve. It's that pure sense of self and feeling and connection, because I want to feel expanded not by the cannabis. I want to feel expanded by the frequency of someone else, or the frequency of an event or a circumstance that I'm allowing in my space. But that's me, because yeah, again, I was never taken in that direction anyway, so I can't really speak of it.
Sylvie says a lot of negativity and anger in the truth community, a lot of doom and gloom. Do you think that all the negativity, all the doom and gloom is helping manifest that negativity, that doom and gloom? You know, focusing a lot on it is bringing it about?
Yeah, well, we focus on what resonates with our internal state. It's like you said, you know, you weren't a complainer. So when you're put when you put a complainer in your space, you didn't resonate with that, right? So you took, and it's the same, you know, like there are lots of different areas of the truth community you can focus on. Like, why do you choose to focus on the doom and gloom? Why does that resonate with you instead of freedom and expansion and unity and sovereignty? Why are you choosing to focus on that? Because it's an aspect of yourself, because that's the doom and gloom inside you. So heal yourself, heal. Where is that doom and gloom in you coming from that is still unhealed? And when you heal that, you won't want to focus on the doom and gloom external to you, but it can only come from internal change. You know, like when we found this freedom of authenticity, like I spoke of before, and complete transparency, well, now everything in my external world reflects that, you know. So it's really about looking at what are you focusing on, what are we allowing in our space, what are we choosing to spend our time on, because that expands. Wherever our focus goes, that expands. So why are we choosing gloom and doom if we don't want to expand that? And again, it's part of the process is, and this isn't about bypassing, because you can be aware of this stuff without being emotionally attached to it, and that is an important aspect of the spiritual path. So it's not denying that there is aspects of doom and gloom in the world. It's not denying that. It's being at a certain state that you're not attached to the suffering of the external world. You can acknowledge it, you can sit with it, you're not bypassing it, you're not denying it, you're not just living in love and light, because at one point I was in that suffering as well. But once you transmute it, you can be in a neutral place from it, because you know on the quantum field that's not your world. You can visit that world. You're aware, the media tells you, the truth of community tells you that world is very, very real. But if they weren't to tell you that world was real and you're sitting here in your own space, is that world real? Like, you know, like why are you choosing to focus on the doom and gloom? So it's being aware of what's going on, but getting to that place also that it doesn't infringe on your sovereignty, on your peace of mind. It's a balance. And this is why I sort of never really done a lot of interviews, because well, it's a story. I'm working through it, but because I was so suppressed, I feel I can't articulate words at the same quality as maybe I can write them. but I'm getting better, and thank you for the opportunity to practice.
Well, you're doing a great job. And Elizabeth Sunshine, she's got a question. What's more important, helping pull others out of a dark place and being a light in their life, or vibrating the self higher and higher? Which one is better than the other, if any?
Well, they're the same thing, because we help others by being the example of light. So, we help others by being the example of gratitude, of being the example of being healed, by being the example of focusing on the higher aspects of life, of beauty and divinity. We are the living example. And as you said, when you were with that lady who complained, she was an energy vampire, and you ended up dropping in frequency and started complaining. So if we're living in a higher frequency, they've got a choice then. They can either elevate to meet us because they don't want to remain victims. So they make that choice that they are going to start their healing journey. Or they criticize, blame us, and they go off on their own way. But we can't change anyone else. All we can be is a living example of the human journey. So yeah, when people, that's their choice. Then they can either elevate to meet us, or they can detach and go on their own way. But we don't have to drop down to the. And yet we can help people out of the darkness just by shining a light. It's again, it's not being drawn into their suffering. It's not being drawn into their victim state. Like I've got no energy to give to victims, none at all. I don't even acknowledge it. I could maybe read it or listen to, but I will not reward that energy of anyone who wants to be in victim consciousness, because they'll just go on and on and on. If you respond to one message and you try to keep, and you can see they're just not, they don't really want the answer. They just want your energy. And that's the difference. They're not looking for an answer. So yeah, it's just feeling into it. And I don't have the right answer. I'm not saying I've got all the right answers. I navigate my life with what feels good to me, what opens my heart, what I might do today might be different tomorrow. Also, depending how much energy I've got to give away. Our love tank, can we keep it topped up? Because it's that excess that we can give away unconditionally. Anything that depletes from our own energy source will want a transaction for it. But if we can keep our own frequency and heart space filled up, then that's when you can give away the excess in pure unconditional love, with no need for a return, no need for expectations, for attachments, for nothing. So, and that depends day to day, depends on what's happening in our daily lives. It depends on, did I go to yoga? Did I have time for myself? Have I been working a lot? Have I been eating too much chocolate? It's just a daily, there's no real answers apart from that constant connection with self, moment to moment, breath to breath. And that's the true power, when we can regulate ourselves within that space, and we don't need the external answers, because we can navigate ourselves through the ocean of life.
Do you think you can truly help someone that doesn't want to help themselves?
No. Only by being a light. You can't force change on them. And anything you do will be temporarily. Like, for example, someone's broke, so you give them a couple of $100. That might help them temporarily, but it's not going to help them to get out of that broke state. They'll probably be broke again the next week and back to square one. So you haven't really helped them. You may made yourself feel better, because now, I helped someone. So you got to look at the reasons why you're doing it. Or did you want something back in return, even if it was like a state of gratitude or something, So yeah, no, if someone, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves, not permanently anyway, I don't think.
Now, if everything is frequency and vibration, how does music play a part in everything that's happening around us?
Well, the music industry's been hijacked, hasn't it? You know, like, I don't know the full story, but I know there was a frequency change in, I don't know, was it the 60s or 70s, or whereas music was
432, and they made it to 440.
yeah, which is so the original frequency was in alignment with the chakra systems of the body, and they changed it slightly, so now it's a distortion, and it hurts. It's not in pure alignment with the frequencies of the body. It's an unnatural frequency. So yeah, I mean, I always like listening to the old stuff. I always feel it's a lot purer. It makes me feel good. Not that I listen to a lot of music, but when I do, um, I was always a big ABBA fan as a kid. I don't know. Again, I'm not a musician, but how does it make you feel? What music elevates you? What makes you want to dance? I don't know. It's but definitely got a role. I mean, but again, can you sit in the silence and hear the music of God, the angels of divinity? Now that's real music, wow, that's that's a whole new realm. That's where I like to be.
Yeah, I hear music a lot when there is no music, and I hear and I sing in my head, and I'm constantly hearing music that's, not there, but it seems to be there.
Well, in the frequency is music, it's music's in everything. If you can hear it, even in the wind, on the breeze, everything. Like, we're taught what music is, we're given labels for everything, but what feels like music, that's your music. Like, poetry is music, can be words, they're just the rhythm in your head. Yeah, we're just indoctrinated with labels for everything, but what is it? It's frequency. Yeah.
Oh,
Thinking aloud.
in this last 3 years, things have changed quite significantly for a lot of people, for a lot of the world. How has things changed for you personally since, the beginning of 2020?
Well, the only thing that really well, see, so a brief background. So in 2012, I sort of, got into the truth scene, as I said, and then backed out totally in 2016. Got into what I call my heart awakening, where I did this meditation. My music started coming through. So in January 2020, I was in Fiji for, I don't know, a month, I think, or 2 weeks, I don't know. Anyway, when COVID came out, and February it was actually, wasn't it? Because I got back into Australia, I think it was the 22nd of February, and midnight they were cutting it off. And that was just when I booked my ticket anyway. I'd tune, when do I come back? 22nd. Oh, that's a good date, 22nd of the 2nd, 2020. And at midnight, I think it was, they cut off the, that you could come in without going into quarantine. So I was hearing it all on the news, and the guy I was with at the time, he was, he's going to, he was a real sort of, like, in the fear mongering. And I'm like, it's all BS, it's all, like, even from the beginning, I got it straight away, with the media and the BS, and I was not phased at all. So anyway, I came back into Australia. We had a couple of lockdowns. I'm in Queensland. I know other areas of Australia like Victoria, Melbourne, Sydney, they got hit a lot harder. I mean, our state was actually closed off, but it didn't affect me. It didn't affect me at all. We had a month of lockdown. The only thing that was different for me is I couldn't get to my yoga studio. It was good because it was a journey again. Now, bring back what I'd had with that heart awareness now into the truth scene, and be able to integrate the both of them. So it's what I feel, the mind awakening, the heart awakening, and then coming into I guess, be the example where you can be aware of both and find that integration to claim your sovereignty and to live a free, loving, abundant life. So it didn't affect me at all. I just continued doing what I'm doing, and rode that wave well. Even though today, like, my youngest son's off to Japan tomorrow to do the snow season, and he had to have a PCR. The first one in our family that we didn't have any, obviously, jabs, didn't have any PCR tests, no masks, nothing, and he had to get a PCR test yesterday to go to Japan. And lucky that came through negative. He had a bit of an itchy throat the day before, so I got a big thing of ivermectin, like sheep dip. Giving him that, so but it all came out all good, all negative, but just sort of because you forget about it and suddenly, oh wow, we actually, he actually has to do that. I've got my other son going to Bali on 2 days later, and he had to get an exemption. So it's still here in Australia. I know it's not in Europe. Maybe you still got it a bit in the States. There's still a lot of restrictions going around that you sort of, unless you actually have to delve in and go out of the country, that you're sort of not even aware of anymore. So yeah, it was just interesting with that question, how it was brought into my space these past couple of days. He's going to Huckabah.
So Australia is still kind of locked down, kind of restricted, kind of.
No, not within the country. It's only like I can't come to America. You guys have got, well, I know I could if I wanted to, but you guys have still got restrictions on us coming in. I know Bali has, or probably the whole of Indonesia then. Well, luckily Japan was only a test. I'm pretty sure Europe's pretty open, but within Australia, there's no lockdowns or mandates that I'm aware of at the moment. So it was really just with the boys both going overseas and both having to, I guess, work with the system to get what they wanted.
What was your determining factor in not wanting to inject this demon juice into you?
Never considered it for a moment. I don't know if I ever really analysed it. It was just always a hard no, because I knew the agenda behind it from day one. Always knew it. No doubt. Never crossed my mind. Never wore a mask. Just no. You're not going to inject me with your, I'm a sovereign woman. No way. And now saying that, look, I wasn't always anti-vaccine. My boys were both vaccinated as babies, youngsters, which I was very much unaware of any vaccine agenda back then, even though I do think this one was different, this last one of the last 2 years, obviously. And I mean, even in 2010, we were going to Vietnam, and that, what was it, swine flu or something came out. And I got vaccinated against that, because going to Vietnam, I thought it was all a bit, I was totally unaware of any vaccine agenda back then, but they were the last ones we got. And now, obviously in the last 12 years, a lot's changed, but, we grow and, as I said, I 2012, 2011, probably even, became very aware of the agenda behind 9/11. And that once you start down that rabbit hole, everything else opens up. So including the vaccine agenda. So just being part of the journey. But I just knew it was nefarious.
Australia being one of the most restricted places of the last 2.5 years out of all of the countries, did you find you not, putting this stuff into you, did it stop you from being able to do anything that you wanted to do?
No, not personally, because, luckily I sort of did all my traveling. I've always been a traveler, but, never really, I traveled a lot with my boys, but then I've never sort of really felt the urge to get up and travel by myself. I go to Uluru. That's my sort of the extent of my flying at the moment. But no, it didn't stop me doing anything. I could still do everything I wanted to do, even when they brought in the vaccine passports. I mean, there was a restaurant near us where we could eat without, they didn't go with the mandate. So that was, sort of go-to place when I wanted to eat out. But no, it didn't affect me at all. I just lived in my my sovereignty bubble, and I don't let that stuff into it. It's being aware of it, but not attached. Like, okay, you're putting out that offer for me to come into that space and live as you want me to live, but I'm not accepting it. I'm staying in my space that I've created, which is my sanctuary. So thank you for the offer, but I'll decline.
Sylvie made a comment here, and maybe she says the big vote to get rid of dictator Dan. I have a feeling he's not going anywhere just yet. Is that Dan Andrews? Is that your prime minister, or was, or?
He's premier in Victoria. As I said, I'm in Queensland, never really followed the politics. I knew he was obviously down there, a lot of complaints. Don't get into the politics. Didn't vote last. Voting is compulsory in Australia. I didn't vote in the last election. It was funny because you vote and they send you a fine like $20 or something. So unless you've got a good reason. So first I ignored it, and then the second one came in. And I've always voted. Even if I went there and didn't fill out the form because I didn't want any of them, I always, because I didn't want to get fined. And this time they're like, unless you got a good reason. So I wrote, I thought I had COVID. And so playing against their bullshit against them. Like, I thought I had COVID. I didn't want to risk going out and infecting anyone. So I decided to stay home and, whatever their wording is, to play safe. And I haven't heard back from them since. So...
This is the first I've heard. So Australia, it's mandatory to vote on every election, or you will get fined if your vote is not, if you don't have a check mark beside your name on whatever it is that comes, or.
Yeah, no, well, you can go to the voting place. You have to register that you've arrived, and then you could walk out the door, or you could get your voting form and not fill it in. Just put it in the box. So it's not the actual filling in the form, but that you rocked up to vote. Yeah, it's compulsory in Australia.
How does that make you feel? Do you think that that's something, that's proper to get people active in voting, or do you think that that's tyrannical, trying to get people to do things that maybe they don't want to do?
No, when I used to vote, I actually thought it was good, because you're going to get, when I believed in democracy, the more people that vote, the more accurate you're going to get a democratic vote. Whereas if only people who, are really interested in politics go out and vote like you guys do in America, are you really getting an accurate reflection of the population? See, this is the question. So I never questioned it. I thought it was good. Everyone has to vote. Don't get lazy. When I thought that the democratic process actually meant something, but of course these days, I didn't go last time for the first time. Yeah. So once it's like, well, okay, well, my vote doesn't make a difference, so I'm not going to vote, because they tell me I have to, so I'm not going to.
Do you think that elections are rigged? Do you think that, the machines are rigged, their elections are rigged, or they just own each side, so it doesn't really matter what, when you only have a left or a right, if they own both sides, you can actually have a true vote of the people, but they don't care because they own both of them?
Yeah, I mean, it could be both, depending on, the election and where it is. Definitely either or. So yeah, well, I mean, Trump got in 2016, which, so, you know, there was a way, I guess, to override it. But yeah, any combination of those, you know, the agenda of the elite is to get in someone, one of their puppets. So however that's carried out, whether it's through fraudulent voting statistics or rigging the machines or having someone that they don't care, whoever gets voted in will carry out their agenda, either or all of those, as long as they get the means to keep implementing their agenda. Yeah. So yeah, it could be all of those.
Do you think Trump is one of their puppets?
No. No.
You think he's not part of the plan?
Part of which plan?
Their agenda?
They, as in the cabal?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he is. Otherwise, he would have got elected. Why would they have stolen the election in 2020? If he was, why would the media have been so against him all this time? You know, if he was one of their puppets, you know, he got villainized. I mean, I was talking to my youngest son today. Like, I can remember, I don't know where I saw it, but there was a kid once I saw playing a video game, and even on that video game, they were shooting Trump and they were saying how bad he was, and that was in a video game. So the kids were getting bombarded through that. They were, you know, the adults were getting bombarded through the news. Everything was against him. If he was working for them, he wouldn't have received all that that vilified hate and criticism.
Well, you can say to make it look more believable, and then the reason why Biden gets in because he makes everything go to shit, and then Trump comes back in as the savior to save. He's here to save the day, and you know, and so you know, there's lots of ways to look at this, you know, because I was a supporter of Trump until I seen his fruits, and his fruits seemed to be sour and rotten. So I no longer am supportive of someone who's proud of, you know, this vaccine and who's proud of, you know, bringing it to fruition and, you know, some of the other things that he's done. So it's, you know, it's hard to know exactly what is happening, but it just seems like, you know, hasn't been doing as good as, you know, you would think someone in that position, or if he was really truly, you know, in charge and could have done something. I know, and me in that position would have done a lot more than what he did, and I know that for a fact.
Well, the thing is, I mean, when you say trust the plan, which plan are you trusting? I'm trusting the divine plan. I'm trusting my plan, which is to create heaven on earth. Now, how that's done is through me as a tool. Okay, it's not waiting for Trump to come in as a savior. Now, Trump being, look, I'm not into politics, and I'll give spit something out here, but he had to remain somewhat neutral to be able to implement the greater agenda. So, you know, but no, I'm fully back Trump. I fully back the Q movement. I fully back the general direction of the Truther movement. But it's taken me now to a place where I create my own sovereignty. I'm not waiting for Trump as a savior. I'm not waiting for anyone as a savior, because I know I'm saving myself on the inside, and that then will reflect in the outer political arena or whatever is coming into New Earth. It's me that is creating it, not like, if you're letting what Trump is doing to the external world affect your sense of peace and sovereignty, you've got it back to front. No, why let any politician affect you in that way Why let their agenda, as I said, they're inviting you to step into their space, but you don't have to accept the offer.
Do you think that heaven on earth or that sovereignty, comes with growing your own food? Is that something that more people should be taking seriously with all the, thoughts of, what potentially is to come?
Oh, it's definitely something to consider if that's, what you feel like doing. I personally haven't done it. I mean, we say in Australia, where I am anyway, still pretty abundant with food that's sort of grown around here. But definitely, why not? Yeah, I mean, any amount of anything that brings you into that state of sovereignty, definitely. And I probably would if I had, the space to do it and the inclination to spend a lot of time gardening. But at the moment, it's not my thing. Not to say that it will never be my thing, but just something that hasn't come into my field at the moment, I guess, because I got the farmers market down the road. So I'd rather go there and get my fruit and veg rather than creating it myself.
Do you think government needs to be dismantled in order for us to move on and start coming together and working symbiotically with, our fellow man and our environment? And, do you think that that's the big elephant in the room is, government and, the controller and what they've done with that power?
No, it's I mean, we don't need them, but we don't have to wait for them to disintegrate. We take our power and just become detached from them through our own. Again, it's this, when you're aware of this sovereign space around you, you're very aware of what's coming into that space. And you're very aware the political system is out there for those who choose to plug into it. But if we don't choose to plug into it, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's not going to affect me. So I've already claimed my sovereignty. It's an energetic space, and what I'm attracting into that space from the frequencies within me doesn't include that political system. So it's not something we all have to do together. We do it as individuals. So you don't have to wait for the political system to collapse until you can feel this sovereignty. You have to create it in your own world. Then the political system will detach from your world.
Like purchasing power?
What do you mean?
Well, people feel they don't really have power, but their purchasing power is power, real power that they hold in their hands, because where you spend your money, where you purchase your food or your products, that gives life to these companies, to these places, whether they're doing good business practices or not. And if people, bought locally at their farmers market, not on these big box businesses, and made better decisions with their purchasing power, then that would dictate, the market more, and not be able to bring us these poisons and genetically modified foods and, some of the stuff that, is being given to us because people just keep buying it.
Yeah, it's look, the way I see it, and it's just all through my own personal experience, it's like when you're saying that, I'm getting the feeling that, you're trying to, rightly or wrongly, sorry if it's not, but, get everyone to work together and then you'll create a certain situation. Whereas when you create that situation in self, then you unite with others that are in that situation and see the difference. It's like you automatically like-minded people come into your field, so you create larger and larger fractals of your sanctuary, of your world. You're not looking to change everyone else to arrive at that same point. It happens organically in the quantum world, but it starts with self. Self is the point, the kingdom, and then you grow out from that, not changing anything out there to try and find your kingdom. You can't buy anything out there. You can only expand from within. That's how I've worked it anyway. That's how I feel it works. I've never articulated this, but that's just how it feels from my experience of my life.
So do you think that the people out there that want to control, that want to destroy, that want to poison everything, that they'll be stopped just by people building new systems away from their system, and they will no longer, try to destroy all that is good here?
But this is the thing. They don't have to stop. They just have to not be in my reality, my kingdom. It's like, okay, I like the rainbow analogy. So the red of the rainbow, okay, you've got maybe the system, the matrix, the chaos where people are chasing money and materialism. That will always be part of the rainbow. But what color are you living in? So we could be living in the green. So the red is still playing out, but it's not in my world. I'm living in the green, or elevating to the violet, or but that red is always there, but we're not attached to it anymore. So it's not about getting that to go away, because whether you're fighting for or against something, you're still focusing your energy and keeping that reality very much in your awareness. So it's becoming detached from it without bypassing it, because otherwise it'll stay in your body and manifest as a different dark point of darkness in your reality. But it's that world is there, it's playing out, but it's not part of my world. I don't want to come to your party. I'd rather stay in my own kingdom. So it's not focusing on getting rid of that. It's focusing on self to elevate above it, so it's no longer part of our reality. And this is where the quantum world comes in. And it's a fascinating place when, luckily, I guess, my awareness of the quantum realm sort of just came through very organically. I've never studied it or anything. So this is where I sort of, I guess, I'm trying to articulate the general understanding that I have of that. So if I'm focusing on fighting against the government to disintegrate it, the government is always going to stay there, because in the quantum world, that's where my focus is, on the government. So fighting for or against something doesn't help. You're both concreting that very firmly into reality. It's when you can detach without emotion, so you're not emotionally attached. So it's there. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't need it to function in my world. So stay out there, and politicians, party all you want. It's not part of my world. Does that make sense?
Michael, yeah, totally. And Michael Zinn says Gemma for president. So you got any political aspirations in your mind?
I'm queen of my queendom, and that's all I need. That's all any of us need, to be king or queen of our kings and queendom. That's all it is. It's so we're all. It's not looking for anyone external to tell us what to do or to direct it. This is why, to replace one politician with another, whatever it is defeating the purpose. We think we're getting a better deal, but we're still detached from our own sovereignty, our own queendom, our own kingdom. And that's where the true power is, that every single one of us humans have got our own kingdom. Now we can join and we can expand and we can come into fractals of those, but it starts with that, with self and our sovereignty. And despite what anyone else is doing in their kingdom, work on your own space, your own reality, your own expansion. That's where, as I said, we said in the beginning, that own expansion of a peaceful mind, a loving heart, a comfortable body. That's where we dwell. That is our kingdom. Because whatever's happening, the best politician in the world could come in. But if your body's riddled with cancer, if you've got a chaotic mind because you can't forgive your ex-husband, or you think a brand new car is going to take you to a better place, if you're not in a loving space where you can allow your lover the freedom to live his or her own life and come together when you're both want to be together. Doesn't matter who's running the White House or Australia in Canberra or anywhere. You're not going to have your peace. You're not going to have your sovereignty. You're not going to have your sanctuary. So it all comes down to self. And then who do you invite into your kingdom, into your sanctuary?
Angeline wants to know, how do you choose what to do next, Gemma?
What opens my heart, I mean, with this YouTube channel, I was a writer for 6 years, minimal interviews. I did a few when my book came out, sort of kept my face off screen, never been very comfortable speaking. Woke up one morning, I'm going to interview men. Okay, let's do this. Started a YouTube channel, and so it's just, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't care. I just know that if I follow my divine, when you tap into that space and you trust, you're a channel for divinity to work through you. So once you open that space, it's going to direct you to where you need to be, and you never doubt it. So I don't need to know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I just need to be happy where I am today, and that frequency will allow me to go to a place tomorrow that I'm also peaceful and happy in. It's like the gratitude thing, So I'm just excited. Look, if someone had told me 4 months I've been doing this YouTube channel, someone had told me 4.5 months ago the things I've done in the past 4 months, I wouldn't have been able to even connect the dots as to how that would have been possible. And all I can put it down to is when you're on your healing journey and you get to a point where your body is this clear channel for divinity to work through you. It does. And you just go with that, because that brings you the greatest joy, It's not having that bigger bank account tomorrow or anything tomorrow. It's just this beautiful, amazing, sovereign, abundant, creative space that you've created today. And when you've got that peace and that happiness, tomorrow's not even on the agenda. I mean, yesterday is like a lifetime ago. This is the sovereignty. This is the kingdom. This is the heaven on earth that we create, this present moment now. Yeah.
Kimberly wants to know what your book title is, and is there anywhere where people could purchase your book if they would like to?
And Then I Met You, Karen Star. I think it's on Amazon, all those places. If you read the reviews, there'll be 5-star reviews and there'll be 0 reviews, because a couple of years ago I was writing I got quite into the geopolitical realm, especially when Black Lives Matters came out and all that stuff, and I was attacked very heavily. They went and they attacked my book reviews, and not that at first I was a bit like, oh, but now I don't care. As I say, I'm not attached to the book, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon, and yeah, it is Amazon Book Depository. And yeah, at the time I knew it wasn't quite the time for this book, as I said, but this book will have its moment in the new earth, because as I say, that it's a lot of stuff that came through me. I'm not so attached to it, but I will humbly say that most of it is a pretty high frequency.
Angeline wants to know, what does it feel like to be in alignment?
This divine flow of creation, of peace, of happiness, of just being here. It's not being, I guess, in the glow of my own light and creation and transparency and authenticity and freedom to be me, and just in that beautiful place of my own creation of words and poetry and frequency. This is it. This is living in your own heaven on earth. This always through self, the human journey, the hero's journey, and then using the cleared human body as a tool of creation for divinity to flow through us and create whatever that creation might be. Some are builders, some are painters, some are poets, some are whatever it is. Some work with children, some are healers, some are. That is our freedom to be self, transparent, authentic, free, loving, happy, peaceful. That's it. Today, now, this moment, not tomorrow when I get off this call, not, oh, I was yesterday for a few moments, but now in every moment. That's where the pure joy is.
What do you do if you feel pulled in two different directions, and do you wait for clarity?
I feel into what expands my heart and what contracts my heart. So, for example, I might get two dinner invitations, right? One might be to go drive down to the city and be, there. I feel into that. Can feel it. It feels heavy on my heart. I don't want to get into that sort of, city life. Or I might get an invitation for a picnic on the beach under the moonlight, and whoa, that expands me. So I'm going to take that invitation. What like when you're talking to someone, you might be unaware of it, but sometimes we're very closed, close out, like we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting our hearts, we're from that energy that's asking to come in. Or does it shoulders back? Is it expanding us? Is it making us glow? Is it taking us, a natural smile? That's the place to go. Like Rumi said, what did he say? Run in that direction. Your heart knows the way. Run in that direction, or something like that. And that's how it is. What makes you happy inside? Not because you need the validation of someone else. What brings you pure joy, bliss, authenticity, freedom inside? Follow that direction.
And who are some of your favorite authors and teachers?
Well, I actually don't read a lot. I've got so many books I haven't read that I've bought over the last 2 years. I think I just like having them, and I think I just like osmosis get the information. So when I, in the 80s, I guess I started this mind, understanding the power of the mind, and that was through a book I read, Your Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dwyer. And that was an amazing book on all these areas, really a programmed mentality that we can open up. And I read that book in a night, and I was blown away. And that just started me on a journey. So I read a lot of him. I read a lot of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, Conversations with God. So I pretty much spent the 90s reading so much. And then, that sort of faded out once you connect to your own divine source, you don't need the books and teachers anymore. And maybe I that's a bit arrogant of me. I actually feel I'm ready now for a teacher to take me to the next place. So I'm going to invite that in, because some stuff's happened maybe over the past couple of weeks that's really sort of blown my mind. So I'm ready for that. And that will come in. So, just feeling into what opens us, what closes us, what brings a smile to our face. It's feeling into the body. You can't do it with numbers. You can't do it with drugs, alcohol, food, I don't know, cannabis. I say no, but I'm probably going to be hit hard with that one. But it's still as natural as it is. It's still not the pure connection to source. So, can you connect to source without it? That's the main question.
Kimberly asked, what does that mean? I want to invite that in.
Okay, it's like, you're aware of your energetic space, your sovereign kingdom. So you asked me to come on and do an interview. Do I want to invite you into my space? Yes. Let's hang out and do an interview. Possibly someone else might ask me to do an interview. I don't want to invite that into my space. Or again, someone wants maybe to spend time with me, which I know would be an energy drain and something I'm not at this point prepared to give my emotional energy to, whereas someone else I might. So I see it as feel it as a very clear energetic space that anything else I am inviting into my space or allowing into my space. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that sounds good. So we're coming up on 2 hours here. Just wondering if there's anything that you maybe wanted to share that we didn't get to touch on.
If anyone's in an abusive marriage and stuck there and doesn't know how to get out of it, the way to get out of it is to raise your frequency and rise above it. So the way I did it was to start working on myself. Read just whenever you can, empower yourself. And you don't have to figure out how you're going to get to leave that relationship. You just have to rise your frequency above it and allow the universe and divine source to figure out a way to get you out of that place. So for anyone that's there, that's in that place, just work on yourself, rise your frequency, do whatever you can to get out of fear and get into trust with the divine. And that divine source will find you a way out.
So like work on yourself, finding hobbies, finding things that light you up, do things for yourself to raise your vibration, and then doors will open to be able to help you, find a way out of this situation.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get into, yoga, meditation, all those things they told us not to do. Well, not me, but maybe a lot of people. Get out in nature, connect to Mother Nature. That is our true mother. Connect to Father God, Source. Connect to those two. Find the stillness, find the silence, find the space to connect to those two, and you can take yourself directly into your kingdom of heaven there, and then expand that. Just put your hand on your heart and feel that space. That's, and you can do that anytime, even, when you're in the worst place of hell. Can try and find those moments of silence and connect to a higher place and expand that higher place to then superimpose on your world, and that will align then with a better place to be.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for spending this time here with us today. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. The missing link is love inspiring new knowledge, and you definitely did that here for us here today. There's a lot of people who definitely resonated with you and what you were saying. So, you did a great job here on the missing link.
Thank you, Jessie.
And thanks everybody for all your likes, comments, hearts, shares, and stars. The missing link is what it is because of all of you. Next week on the missing link on Tuesday, we have Tommy Dyer. He got arrested for having a sign at one of the rallies where our prime minister was being hung by a noose. So that's going to be an interesting to talk to him. Then we've got Lieutenant Stephen Rogers. He does some podcasts, and he's connected with a lot of people. That's on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, we got Dr. Daniel Nagasi coming back for a second time to talk about sovereignty and different things. And then as well on Wednesday, we got Jim Lee, the climate viewer. And then on Thursday, we've got Jim, Andre, and Bradley Powers to talk about, some of the mystical stuff. Then we got Mike Oso. He's going to talk about, stuff that he's doing, his lives and his political, stuff. And then we got Michael Zinn's going to be interviewing me as well and he was here in the comments and he resonated with you, Gemma. He's going to be interviewing me on his show on December 1st. So thanks again, Gemma. Thanks again, everybody. And you all have a wonderful weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to all the Americans celebrating it. We're in Canada. We celebrated it in October, but it's a big festive weekend for, everyone in the US of A. So have a wonderful weekend, and may the source be with you, Gemma, and everybody that's, here listening or whether on replay. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone. Bye, Gemma.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Jesse.